Going live, okay. Yeah. Hi friends, this is Pushkar, and wait for 2-3 minutes so that like some more viewers can join. Yeah. Hi Tarun, hi Rohit, hi Rahul. There is a user with name Secret Hack. He's saying hello. So hello. Okay, so let me tell the agenda so that like if people who are joining they can join. So today I have a guest with me, Prashant, and I will ask a few questions with him, and you can ask also questions, and I will ask those questions to Prashant, and Prashant will try to answer all your questions. Okay, so yeah, we'll start in 1 minute. Okay, yeah, like more users have joined now. Like yeah, so let's start. Okay. So hi friends, some problem is streaming bit rate. Okay, okay, no problem. So yeah, so today Prashant is with me, and let me give you to like introduce him in a short. Then he will introduce himself. So Prashant is a BTech graduate, and he graduated from Delhi Technological University, and in 2016. Yeah, and he's like a two times ICPC regionalist. One is I think Amritapuri, and one thing is he was in my team in ICPC, and then he grabbed two offers during his college time, one on campus, one off campus. Amazon was his off campus, and he joined Amazon right after his college, and since then he is in Amazon, and he has experience in of working in Bangalore, California, and currently he is in Seattle. Yeah, Prashant, can you like introduce yourself in more detail so that users can get you?
Yeah. Hey guys, this is Prashant Kumar. I graduated in 2016 from Delhi Technology from computing. From June 2016, I've been working. I was initially working in Bangalore, transaction risk service team. Then I Chennai in California. Uh, in June 2019, I moved to Seattle, working in ML Center, uh, ML platform services, but it's a AI organization. All this experience has been good so far. Yeah, that's my working background. And yeah, like Pushkar mentioned, I did go to Amritapuri and Chennai ICPC regionals, and yeah, it was a fun trip and a good competition.
Yeah, as you know that he is in Seattle, and let me tell you like he stays like zero point 0.2 miles from my house, so like 300 400 meters, and our office are like near half a kilometer, right? So yeah, Prashant, can you tell about your programming career, like because uh, before college you don't have computer experience, right? programming experience.
Yeah.
So, what were your initial struggles, and how did you like, your entire programming career?
Yeah, so I didn't have computer science in school, and when I joined, it doesn't really matter that much. But there's a um, blocker for your mind that hey, you didn't have computer science in school. How are you going to cope up with all these folks who already had it? They are already ahead of you in this journey. And during computer science classes, I used to get like a lot intimidated by those folks, and even like it was a definite struggle that kept pulling me off to start. And I was like, will I be ever be able to compete in contests like these folks do right from starting? So it was definitely uh, uh, initial blocker for me to get started. But I think I did start competitive programming. I think end of second year of my college, and initially, I started with the world famous question of life, universe, and everything, and it was a very good experience to get that green tick on your online judge. It was a really good feeling. I can't describe that. So, and that's how it all started. And then I started more doing more online judges on Spodge, Hacker Rank, and Code Chef. And that's how the competitive coding interest began. And basically, uh, that led me to getting to know what ACM ICPC is. And I saw people that it is a really prestigious competition, and that made me really want to do it. But I was at the initial stages, and I didn't. It was really I wasn't sure like if it would be I would be able to ever go to the regionals when I already saw folks from my year already qualifying for that. So, so I started practicing a lot, and I think in 2014 we went to our
Yeah,
first regionals, and yeah, I think I would say that the most important thing is like pick a programming language that you like, and uh, learn the basics of it, the main libraries. It suppose that you don't have to write repetitive code. And so I chose C++, and I would recommend any newbies who is in a phase where they're still picking up a language to start with C++. It's very easy to understand, has a bunch of standard template libraries that you can use for competitive programming. It really helps. I think most of the competitive coders I know use C++, and I use C++ as well. And for practicing, I think what initial mistake that I did was, which I have also seen most people do, is that when they participate in a competition and the problems that they're not able to solve, they just leave it at that. But I think that is not a good strategy. You will not learn anything. I think the idea is to uh, focus on uh, practice more on things that you don't understand, or things that you are still lacking. So for example, if you're not able to solve a problem in a contest, see what like most editorials will have tags with it. Try to get those kind of questions to practice, and pick problems from online judges to solve more and more of those, and upsolving questions that you are not able to solve in a programming contest is very important. That is what it is all about. You need to improve on the problems that you're not able to solve. Otherwise, you'll be at the same level. You will not improve, and I think that is where most people will uh, not try to do, because it's pushing yourself beyond what you already know, and that's always hard. And that takes time and effort. It takes a lot of practice to go from, like, if you're able to solve like 3 out of 10 questions, from there to go like a couple of more questions beyond in a competition. I think that's what is the most important part to learn something for a programming contest.
yeah, and giving up is never a solution for any problem.
So yeah.
So So you have answered like a lot of questions that beginners ask to me, um, like how to start in the initial phase, what's the proper programming language. So I see like couple of people have asked the question whether Python is good for interview or not. So I think language is never a barrier for a
Yeah,
product-based company.
language is never a barrier. It's basically like the one that you're most comfortable with. There like a bunch of languages people use. I'm just saying that if you don't have any experience and you're still in the phase that you want to decide, I decided to go with C++, and I never regretted that decision. So if you already know a language, try to perfect in that one only. Don't try to learn a bunch of languages for the sake of competitive programming. Uh, Mastering one is more important than knowing a bunch and not being good at any of those.
Yeah, learning a lot of programming language is never a good choice, especially when you are in college. So one question is, Pushkar sir, please suggest some good. So Prashant, as you said that you have the journey for ICPC was with C++. So can you help these guys like for how to proceed in C++, for a for a beginner in C? What sites or what
So
books he should?
yeah, so for C++, I mostly followed online resources, but I'm pretty sure that like any good book on C++ will get the basics covered. Most books will cover your basics. I think you can learn about STL from creference.com, cppreference.com. It has very good explanation with examples. So that is where I learned this STL. And I think as you move forward in like as you solve more questions and you figure out that you don't know a particular thing, like then you basically search for those things. I think mostly what you want to know is like have good basics, good knowledge of the STL to begin with solving problems for competitive programming.
Yeah, and nowadays I have found that there are many online blogs are there. YouTubers have created very good videos on like every programming language. And if you're picking up C++, there are a lot of resources. So you can definitely follow. You nowadays you need not to pay like any like to buy any online course for C++. And lot of blogs and lot of YouTubers explaining in a very good way, easy to understandable way. So
Yeah, I think the one thing that you should avoid is like reading same thing again and again. Like you read one thing from here, and even if you understood, you again go through like same reading all those steps that you already done. So that will basically you don't want to do that. You might want to do that if you miss something, some concept that you're not able to understand, but or if you're trying to revise. Uh, but not just like you don't block yourself at a point that hey, I will not go beyond this, and I will only read up to this point from all the other sources that are available. So don't get stuck at that phase.
So yeah, now I will ask you one question. So as you mentioned that like you were beginning of second year, right? Prepared for ICP. So I just want to understand what was the importance of competitive programming as a like life as a programmer till now. Was it really helpful?
So
So someone should do the competitive programming.
yeah, I think it was very important, and it was actually game changer for me as well because while doing competitive programming, it basically prepares you for solving the problems in a fast way, and you read a lot of data structures, you understand how the complexities work, and this is the basics of like what a programmer should think like. So and I will compare like how this helped me crack interviews also. But basically, when you're solving these when you're doing competitive programming, you're understanding time complexities better. You're getting fast at solving problems. You're understanding different data structures, how they will be used, how when you see a problem, you know that what data structure will be best suited for it and why. What are the time constraints and the memory constraints that I need. It also most competitive programming contests have time limits, so you know that like if a problem is expected to get executed in 1 second, and if you have a very big sized number of iterations that you need, then obviously an n squared solution will not work for these things. So it basically sets your mind space in that way, and you become really good at picking problems and solving problems, and that is always helpful. All that is the base of everything, and it basically prepares you for those things. And coming back to your question, how it's helped me in interviews. So when I had already done competitive programming, it was much easier for me to understand uh, uh, understand the algorithms that are there, the data structure questions that companies ask. For me, it was easy to grasp. So when I was giving interviews, and when I hear the question in the interview, it will be like I know like how to progress about it and how I will optimize it. If someone is looking for an n login solution, I know how I would progress about it, because if I don't, then it's going to be very inefficient. So that is how competitive programming prepares you for your placement interviews as well.
So let's pick one question. That's a very interesting question. That so the question is DSA versus basically data structures and algorithm problem versus project. So yeah, like what do you think? I will tell my after.
I would say like you don't really have to pick each. You can keep a balance of these projects. You should do ones which helps you learn something. You shouldn't just do projects for the sake of putting it in your resume, or like the ones that you get like fake certificates and all those things. That won't really help you. Data structures and algorithms will 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 be used everywhere. So even if you're doing projects and you have to create an in-memory map or something, you know that how if you have done like good coding, you know what data structures to use here, and picking those basically, like I would say, like why big companies focus more on your data structures and algorithms is because they know that this forms the basics of everything, and foundation this is the foundation. And if you know these things, it will be easier for you to figure out and understand the complexities of the bigger projects. But I think where most startups would want you to like have all those experience beforehand, and that is where like people start getting confused, that whether we should be doing more of projects or focusing on our coding skills. The coding skills are necessary with, for either you do whatever. Like even if you're doing projects, you need those skills. So don't like uh, get trapped in that if I don't pursue one or the other, I'll be stuck at something. But instead, try to know what your goals are, the companies that you want to crack, and accordingly decide your plan.
Yeah, from my point, data structure algorithm and project were never competitor of each other. We should maintain a good balance between them, because nowadays you can find few companies, they have a dedicated round for your project. So they will ask deeper question on your project. They try to grill you. So one thing is sure, never fake project in your resume.
And I see that some people are saying that I'm endorsing coding ninjas, which is not true. This is a hoodie that I have won in a competition.
Yeah, it's not coding ninja, it's code ninja. Yeah.
Yeah, it's code ninja.
So yeah, like people are asking like some good resource for preparation of data structure and algorithm, as well as LLD part, uh, LLD and machine coding. So at our time there were very few resources, right? Like there are many sources. Even some startup are now based on specifically for programming. So what you recommend? So one should like buy and try it, and or like how you like just a fresher to. Yeah.
So basically, if you're looking to practice competitive programming, and then I'll answer how you can start. So when I was preparing for interview, I followed just one side wholeheartedly, and like for just for the interview preparations, that was interview bit, and it basically has a structured way on how you can start learning things. AG Prashant 5 is my handle. You can look it up. So that is that is one where I followed most of the interview related questions, and they basically were new at that time, and they had a nice note taking things, and that was really exciting to use. Good questions. They had different levels of hints to go about it. So basically, like, stick to one platform. The goal is not to try out different platforms. The goal is to uh, improve your level of coding, and that how you want to do is like just focus on one platform. Try to solve different levels of programming questions. Try to see how one question can be solved in different ways at different levels of complexities. How they all work. Basically, in an interview, what someone would be looking at is how your thought process works. Are you able to understand the basics of it, how it will run, at what time and algorithmic complexity, and basically from there, can you see that if I had to optimize it further, can you think about those scenarios, like if you use this data structure versus this data structure, it will become more efficient. So the goal is to get better at those things and not basically be stuck at one level. That is where I have seen most of the people that are not able to clear interviews are there. They are basically they are doing medium level problems or easy level problems across many platforms. So that will not help you. You don't want to just because for the sake to make you feel good that you're able to solve this problem. You're just solving the easy ones at all platforms that you can see. And every day, like people, there will be platforms coming up and on as in future as well. But you want to you want to progressively work upwards towards understanding different concepts. And interview bit basically gave me that structured way to go from one level to another. So I stuck to that platform. It was really helpful. But you can choose one of your own. I would say there is HackerRank, there's LeetCode. Uh,
And even for understanding concept, Geeks for Geeks is like one of the best place. You can go and understand each algorithm.
yes, Geeks for Geeks was my before practicing questions. Geeks for Geeks was, I think it was I think Geeks for Geeks didn't allow, I think at that time, try to run the programs. So you would basically be able to read those questions. So I think Geeks for Geeks is a good source to like read different questions, get to read interview experiences, what questions they are asked. Another thing is, like, when you read interview experiences, don't just read it for the sake of it. Try those questions out. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time.
Yeah, there is one question Saurav Singh is asking, like, take this same question 10 times more. So yeah, let's pick his question. So Pushkar sir, questions like prime number, even odd, is important for product-based company, or should we jump to DS algo after understanding basic syntax of language?
I think what I feel is you tried solving those and you're struggling a bit on how to solve these questions. I think if that is the case, like, just get it done with. Like, do some questions based on prime numbers, Steve, and understand how those things work. I'm not saying that it will not be helpful in any interviews, but it basically that how like if from one race to another, how you can find prime numbers. And it's not very hard to like read a few articles on prime numbers, because if that is a particular question that is keeping you from progressing further, then you should get done with it. Yeah, I'm happy to help you find right resources for it.
Yeah, and if someone has asked you about that system, yeah, I will paste all those link in the description of this video as well as on my LinkedIn channel. So yeah, like you can wait for like today evening. By the today evening, I will paste all the resources. So one more question. So subjects like OS, DBMS, computer network, how what importance does these subjects play in like interview, or not just take till interviews but also as a in a life of a software developer engineer? What do you think?
So in interviews, you might get like a specific question in some or the other interviews, but mostly product-based question companies will not ask you like explain how these things work. But when you actually get working on a job, these things will become important. You want to understand how your CPU utilization varies at different levels and all those things. So those come into picture once you are working, working in your job. uh, I honestly haven't been in an interview where someone asked me a very specific operating system or DBMS questions. Maybe that was not all the companies that I was eyeing for. That and if they did, and if I didn't know, I would simply say that I don't know this concept yet, and then you can move forward in the interview. But these concepts are important. It depends where you are. With if you are really comfortable with your coding skills, it is definitely you can go enhance those skills. You can read about operating system concepts and DBMS concepts. Those are not useless skills. Those are very important, and it will definitely help you in your job. And Also in some specific interviews, if they are hiring for a team or a product which requires those skills. But in general, I wouldn't say you should not focus on those if you're still struggling with your data structures. I think let's establish this, that you want to be comfortable in that field first before you start exploring other breadths.
Asking, practicing all questions on lead codes are sufficient for Amazon or Walmart? So
So
yeah,
yeah, I think you're basically asking about Amazon's interview experience. I think lead code should be fine, but also do prepare for their behavioral interviews if you're eyeing Amazon. I think that yeah,
yeah.
you'd be able to find the leadership principles that Amazon asks online.
And Kuldeep is asking, I want to ask you, which is more important, and or some of development? So yeah, we answered this question. I think you should
Yeah,
maintain a balance between both because they are not a competitor of each other. Should have a good hold on programming as well as development.
you should choose the companies you're targeting for. Uh, I
And
think it is definitely helpful to have some projects that you can that people can ask questions from once. This basically happens when you are really good at you're doing really well in your programming interviews, and they are basically you're like nailing questions after questions, and then they go into your projects. Uh, Also, those are required for your higher levels of as developer level roles. So I'm assuming like if you're applying for higher role developer roles, then you already have some work experience, and those can be accounted along with your projects for those.
Shivam Verma is asking, when should I think I'm prepared for a product-based interview?
So basically, your rating on CodeChef is saying that you have practiced enough problems. Nobody's going to look at that. Basically, if you have practiced enough questions, you should be able to answer questions in the interview. So yeah, those credentials won't matter if you are not able to answer the questions in the interview. So I think yeah, that may help in some specific companies in resume shortlisting, but after that, it is just that day that you are prepared given the interview.
Yeah, and from my point, like when you think that you are prepared, so when you feel that when you feel confident that you are ready for the interview, you should start applying to those company. And one suggestion I would give you is always apply to your dream companies at the end. Try to grab some offer from other companies and then give, so that you have a confidence and a backbone that you can freely answer all the questions, and will boost your confidence. And then it can definitely help you. And if you have a like a job offer from other companies, then there is also a very good chance for negotiation.
I think basically, if when you're ready is basically if you see a question and you don't have you're not stuck on it for too long. Uh, like try doing some mock interviews or time box interviews to solve 2 to 3 questions in that 1 hour, 45 minutes to 1 hour. That is generally the duration of an interview. If you're able to do that for a variety of questions, if you're able to do that, I think I would say you would be ready. Like go through all the interview experiences, time box it for 1 hour, try to solve it. That would basically give you a confidence. If not, if you don't do well in any of those interviews, learn what you did not do well, practice those things, and then uh, keep going.
So Yash is asking how to get started having 1 year of experience for a, like a, for interview product based company. Basically, he's asking like how a working professional can start preparing for. So what are your tips regarding time management and
So for working professionals, it would be the strategy should be a little bit different because your time is constrained. You have a job that you have to attend to during your weekdays. I would say first of all, like be honest to your job. Don't cut a slack over there. Um, take the once you're done with your day. The time that you have after that, try practicing data structure and algorithm problems, and definitely utilize your weekends very well. I think for it won't hurt you if you don't go out on certain weekends and you're like fully focused on preparing during that time. uh, so that is some strategy that working professionals that who currently have a job can apply. Yeah, but definitely never cut slack to your current job just because you wanna start giving interviews to different companies.
more questions? So Abhishek is asking how to build logic. I don't
How
know.
to build logics. So this is basically where your fundamentals will help you. If you're not able to understand a problem, you probably not know that concept. Read about it, and if you like, let's say if I don't know anything about dynamic programming, and if I see a question that uses it, I probably will be stuck on it for days. What I can do is like check for what kind of concepts are being used in this problem, study those, and if basically if I don't know any concept, uh, I will not be able to build a logic properly. for solving such kind of problems. So go back, uh, tune your basics, and retry those problems. And once you're done, try multiple problems for the same field so that you can perfect it and get better at it.
So basically increase your breadth of by solving lot of problems. Even like someone has
Yeah.
mentioned like practice for logic building. Yeah, this is like you should practice as many questions as possible so that you can get a logic.
And
Any
this is where the up solving part of a programming contest comes into picture, because mostly, like, I've seen, like, if you I'm not sure about other platforms, but CodeShift used to give tags after a contest gets over. So if you know that you are not able to solve this problem, like, see what tag it belongs to, and then try to solve more questions of that tag, so that next time a question comes from the similar field, it will strike you directly that, hey, this is the concept that I was not able to solve last time, and I should be able to do it this time.
Sharma is asked what is per solve that a decent. Okay,
If
he's asking
you're
for number of question. Basically, he wants to quantify like how much practice he should do. Like basically, so he's asking in term of number of questions, and someone asked
there,
number of
there
hours per day and something like this. So what do you think?
there is actually no right answer for this. There's no number for how many questions. How you will get confident is that if you solve like 10 questions and you're still struggling, and you're practicing and you're reading the solutions, editorials, and understanding from them, and the next 10 questions you solve will be much faster and increase the level of difficulties. So if you use platforms like LeetCode or interview bit, you can choose the level of difficulty. If you're able to solve a medium problem, go for the hard one. And just like for mostly, you wouldn't need to go like an extreme hard problem. So keep a balance, that if a question comes at this level, I should be able to uh, uh, answer this question anytime, any variation of it. And once you're able to do that, you'll probably be done with that particular problem or approach. But like, again, I previously also mentioned, don't just for the sake of it, like, try solving like 100 200 questions. You're wasting multiple days just answering same level of questions. You're solving easy problems, and you say like, I solved 200 problems, but I'm not still able to get a uh, get a good medium problem solved in interview. So that will not help. Just uh, try to choose different levels of questions. Don't get stuck complacent with the current level of questions you can solve.
Yeah, and even I will create a one video pointing out all the resources, basically good resources for competitive programming. There are like few writers they have also written a and I follow during I will share all those resources and hopefully it will help. And like some are asking like how they want to get into data engineer role and what should they prepare. I don't think that we should
Uh,
answer this question. Uh, what I can do is I can find someone who is on data engineer role and QA role, and you can ask all your questions to him or her, and they are probably the best, the better one to answer your question. Even for the machine learning engineer, yeah, we are not supposed to like we are not the right person to answer. We're not in this field. If you have a specific can answer. And yeah, someone is asking, how does one get their resume shortlisted?
so I would say, like,
Yeah,
those are
because
basically like,
you
have a good format. Like, try to don't bloat your resume with too many things. Don't write you play cricket in college or school. That's not going to help. Focus your technical skills, highlight them, mention your work experience. You can find like good sample resumes. Uh, Again, the resume format and all everything will matter less if your content is really powerful. So if you can say if you have like good projects in there, and if you show that you've done things to showcase like your coding skills, uh, basically those are the things that will help you get shortlisted. And that's where you should focus on. uh, Try to add your achievements for some things that you've done. Like I know that for me, the fields that I went to went to ACM ICPC, I'm not sure, but I think that helped me at least get some shortlisted for the companies that look for those kind of people.
Yeah, and Zoom shortlisting. What I can add is uh, just showcase your skills. Nowadays, like the resume, basically, uh, the work you have done are more important than your degrees. Okay, so have a online repositories like GitHub repository, profiles from CodeChef, and link them in your resume, right? If you are
Yeah,
applying for a software developer, then show that you have done something related to software development, right?
add your ranks of your major coding competitions that you
Yeah,
won, or those things like that. Like highlight your technical. You're trying to sell yourself in a resume, and to a tech company, so you need to highlight your tech skills and achievements there.
asking our medium. Yeah, like you can. Yeah, we have already answered. Lead code should practice because they have the previously asked question interviews, so you should definitely do. Although they are not can't quantify that they are sufficient or not, but you should do. What is the coding problem? So basically, the question is, if you are taking a longer time to solve a problem in the interview, does it have a negative impact or a positive impact? Because
So
generally,
longer time, like if you're
an
able to
okay, yeah, continue.
solve it within the interview time limits. And this is where I think competitive programming helped me. I was able to solve faster questions and more number of problems. But basically, a typical interview will be like 45 minutes to an hour. You want to be in a state where you can solve the question in about 30 minutes, leave some room for discussion and back and forth questions. So if you are taking more than 30 minutes or 45 minutes to solve a question, you basically need to practice a lot, because then what is happening is that you are stuck at a phase where you're not able to formulate the question into logic. So if you're reading the problem statement and you're not able to see that what data structures to use and how to write this logic properly, and even if you can think brute force, you're not able to optimize it. And that's where you need to practice for those things, because you want to have the question solved within 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I think it is the best if you're able to solve multiple questions, and that is where like your speed of execution comes. um, and most people, I know I see most people ask me like how competitive programming has helped you. It has helped me in solving multiple questions in one interview, uh, when I was giving interviews. So that's where it helped me.
Already 12:30 p.m. in the night. So if you have like more questions, you can write in the question. I will try to answer, and I will provide all the resources in the description. And if you have like more question and you want to ask me, or from the other person, like from session, yeah, you can like attend this live session. You can ask question. We'll try to answer.
Yeah, and hit us up on with your further questions on LinkedIn or wherever you can find us. Happy to help you guys. We know that we've been through this phase, and to be honest, I was rejected in 20 companies when I was sitting for college placements, but I didn't give up. I backed Amazon off campus. I was determined to be in a good company. So don't give up.
Yeah, let me tell you
Don't
like few
let.
things about him. So our placement starts like from 1st August, and like for the third and Chan got his first job offer in September. So in August, like nearly 20 to 25 companies were there, but he didn't give up, and at the end, like he was able to grab an all on campus as well as off campus job offers in. So giving up is never a solution to any problem. Just keep it in mind. Okay. So yeah,
Yeah,
we are ending the session. If you have questions, we'll meet next time and try to answer it. And you can also ask all your questions to LinkedIn directly to Prashant or Arshu and whoever. We are happy to answer all your questions. Okay.
yep.
Bye.